writing about family, what goes into the decision to use persona versus use your own perspective?
Yeah, that's a good question. It seems like I do both. It depends. If I'm observing my mother a little bit, like that last poem, which was a lot of fun to write, I like to have myself and then referring to her so that I can build up the tension between the two people. So that works really well, I found. So that way there's an I, it's typically me, and then the her and the she is my mother. So that's how I can kind of build up the tension. Now, when I want to just have my mother, if it's just something that's from her perspective, then it'll be the I, and the I in that case will be her. And then I can build up the tension between like her mother, because there's a lot of tension there. And so I do it that way. And so the way, we talked a little bit about that at Salon, but the way we kind of try to separate it out is basically to say who the speaker is. So basically we would say for Yi-Ling if it's for her. And then when I'm working on the manuscript, some of them will be like for Debbie, right? Or Debbie, just so that there's a bit of a break. Because otherwise it gets very confusing. I noticed that Rose in her recent book, she had, sometimes there's Rosie there, right? Or her mother. So you have to kind of change, sometimes you have to change who the subject is. And at first I was thinking actually to keep everything from her perspective. But then I realized that if you actually have different people speaking, it becomes even richer. Because then you have multiple perspectives. Yeah.
Do you think that comes at the cost of going deeper from one perspective?
I think that one perspective, you can only go so far. But I think that sometimes it's nice to hear it from me or from someone else. I mean, you could just do it one way, but I found that I had poems that actually, in some ways, they reach more depth when it's coming from my direction, because I know how I feel. But if I'm writing a poem about what my mother feels, then it's really trying to guess at what she feels or what she says. So there's a little bit of a disconnect.